Obama appeared this week at Hamilton College in upstate New York as part of the school's Great Names lecture series. What began as a moderated discussion quickly turned into a pointed warning about the state of American democracy and the use of political power. While Obama never framed his remarks as a campaign speech, his message was unmistakable. He argued that the country is facing a test that goes deeper than any single policy dispute. According to Obama, the real question is whether the United States still agrees on the basic rules of democratic life. Clips from the event spread rapidly online, especially one moment that drew loud applause from the audience. Obama asked listeners to imagine how Americans would have reacted if he, as president, had taken similar actions against the press, law firms, universities, or student protesters. That question, "Imagine if I had done this," has now become the center of the debate. Here is what Obama said, what he focused on, and why it matters. Obama began by acknowledging the obvious. He and Donald Trump strongly disagree on many issues. He cited trade, economic policy, and the role of government. But he said those disagreements are not what concern him most. Instead, Obama said the deeper issue is whether Americans still believe in a shared system for resolving conflict. He pointed to the period after World War II when Democrats and Republicans fought fiercely over policy but still accepted certain foundations. He listed those foundations clearly: the rule of law, separation of powers, an independent judiciary, and protections guaranteed by the Bill of Rights. He said the ideal was simple but powerful, that every person counts, every person has dignity, and everyone has equal worth under the law. Obama was careful not to romanticize the past. He said the system was never perfect. There were abuses of power, corruption, and deep inequalities. But he argued that most Americans still believe those standards were the right goal, even when the country fell short. According to Obama, that shared commitment has weakened, and he outlined several reasons why. First, he pointed to the growth of government itself. As institutions expanded, they often became distant and frustrating. Rules felt confusing, slow, and sometimes unfair. When people feel ignored by bureaucracy, Obama said they don't just lose faith in one agency, they lose faith in the entire system. Second, he discussed tribalism. As the country became more diverse, politics became more divided. Obama shared a personal example, recalling that when he entered the US Senate, he was the only black senator, and there was just one Hispanic senator. His point was that political institutions once reflected a much narrower slice of society, and that change can make compromise harder for some people. Third, he focused on economic inequality. Obama said the economy has not worked for everyone, and resentment grows when people believe the rules are rigged. When citizens stop believing the system is fair, they are less likely to respect its rules. Fourth, he addressed the media environment. Obama said democracy depends on a well-informed public and a free, trusted press. He warned that years of attacks on information and facts have weakened shared reality. When citizens can't agree on basic facts, politics becomes pure conflict. After laying that groundwork, Obama turned to the present moment. He said he disagrees with recent economic policies, including tariffs, but stressed that those were not his primary concern. What worried him more, he said, was the growing use of federal power to pressure institutions that are supposed to remain independent. He cited universities as one example. Obama said he is deeply troubled by threats to withhold funding unless schools comply with demands tied to speech and protest on campus. He framed this as a free speech issue and a warning about how power can be used to silence dissent. He also pointed to law firms. Obama criticized the idea that legal firms could face retaliation for representing clients the administration does not like. He said this runs against a basic American principle, that people can seek legal representation without fear of punishment from the government. Then came the moment that drew the strongest reaction. Obama asked the audience to imagine if he had taken similar actions while in office. Imagine, he said, if his administration had pulled press credentials from Fox News. Imagine if law firms representing critics had been barred from government buildings. Imagine if universities had been punished for student protests against his policies. His point was not about relitigating old political fights. His point was about what he called a double standard, actions that would have sparked outrage under one president now being met with silence under another. Obama then made another argument. He said this debate is not just partisan. It is about national identity. He acknowledged that many Americans care more about everyday costs, rent, groceries, energy bills than abstract ideas like separation of powers. But he argued those ideas are not abstract at all. A rules-based society, Obama said, is what allows people to open businesses without paying bribes, support political causes without fear, and expect fair treatment in court. These protections create stability, and stability creates prosperity. He warned that when power becomes personal and critics are punished, the damage does not stay in Washington. It shows up in daily life, in jobs, markets, and personal security. In short, Obama argued that the health of democratic institutions can eventually affect even the price of eggs. So why speak now? Obama said he had been quiet for a time and had been watching. But he believes this moment requires engagement. He said the most important office in a democracy is not president, it is citizen. He argued that democracy weakens when people assume someone else will step in. Posting opinions online is easy, he said. Standing up when there is a real cost is harder. He spoke directly to institutions. If a law firm is pressured, he said, it may have to risk losing business to defend principle. If a university is targeted, it should examine itself honestly. But if the pressure is intimidation, it should stand firm. That, he said, is why institutions build financial cushions in the first place. He also criticized what he described as silence from some corporate and wealthy leaders who once spoke loudly about values when it was easy. Obama suggested the real test of belief is whether people stand by their values when it becomes uncomfortable. Obama also addressed free speech on campuses, a topic that divides many Americans. He said he opposes canceling speakers by shouting them down or blocking events. Even offensive ideas, he argued, should be met with argument and evidence, not censorship. That is how free societies defeat bad ideas. He encouraged young people to build emotional resilience. In the real world, he said, people will encounter rude co-workers, difficult bosses, and clumsy language. Democracy requires the ability to disagree without turning every conflict into a personal war. So why does this speech matter? First, because of who delivered it. Obama remains one of the most influential figures in American politics, and his decision to speak adds weight to the moment. Second, because of how he framed the issue. This was not a debate about tax rates or trade deals. It was a debate about the rules of power itself, something far harder to compromise on. Third, because of timing. The country is polarized, many Americans are exhausted, and institutions are under pressure. A speech like this forces choices that many would rather avoid. Reactions have been divided. Supporters say Obama is naming a dangerous shift in how authority is used. Critics argue he is being partisan and that institutions themselves are politically biased. Others focus on his double standard argument, saying outrage now depends more on who is in power than on the action itself. But beyond the immediate debate, the speech resonates because it touches on fear, pressure, and silence, dynamics most people understand in their own lives. Hamilton College released full video of the event, and major outlets have highlighted different moments. The White House has not responded directly to every claim, but the speech has now entered the broader fight over norms, power, and accountability.